Hello guys, good morning. Can you able to hear me and able to see my screen? Hello George, Manish, Surendra, can you able to hear me? Okay, cool. So we'll quickly start for today's session. So in our previous sessions, we have discussed about storage and what are the types of services that we have available in the storage, like blobs, queues, tables, blobs and files. So we have also seen some troubleshooting and how to create the storage account by using PowerShell. So today we will see what are these tables and queues. So Azure has the two more services called tables and queues. When we are actually creating a storage account, we do get four services. One is blobs, one is files, one is queues, and one is tables. So these two topics are actually for administration purpose. It's not required because these are purely developer related resources. Developers will use these resources. So what we are going, but in fact we will see what are these resources. And just let me open the portal. These two tables and queues are purely developer oriented resources. So in administration part, we are not going to touch it because you need to write some queries in order to use these tables or in order to use these messages. If you are a pure developer, then you are actually using it. 7532 certification will cover these topics in detail because but as per our 7533 certification, we should be aware of what are these tables and what are these queues and where we are actually using this. Just let me go back to storage accounts. Seems like I don't have any storage account. I'm just creating a new one. As you already know the same process. So I'm just taking the location as East US, and if we are also discussing about only a standard storage account. After this, I'll just tell you the premium. Okay, I'm just taking as a new RG as the resource group name. I'm just going to create it. So first of all, as you already know, we can able to once the storage account is ready, you can able to see that tables and queues feature in the storage account. So first write the definition. What is a table? What is a Azure storage table? So the definition is Azure table storage is a service. Write it down. Azure storage table is a service that stores structured structured NoSQL data in the cloud. Azure table storage is a service that stores structured NoSQL data in the cloud that stores structured NoSQL data, no SQL data in the cloud, providing a key or attribute, structured NoSQL data in the cloud, providing a key attribute, stores with a schemaless design, providing a key attribute, stores with a schemaless design. So the meaning of the sentence is, I think few people are familiar with the SQL databases. Let's say if you want to write some queries or if you want to put some data into a database, you need to write some queries. Similarly, what you need over there is you need a SQL server or you need a SQL database. But in Azure Tables, it is similarly like a SQL database only. But here you don't need any infrastructure actually. By using these Azure tables, you by writing some queries, we are actually putting some data into these tables. So which means like it is like a schemaless design where you are actually putting some data into these tables. So how this is gonna look is just go to the storage. Let me refresh the storage. So so if you go to the overview plate and you have a couple of services available. So now I'm just scrolling down. So here you have a tables. So once you click on this tables, Similarly, you know this whenever you are talking about SQL database, people will show you this table where employee name, employee ID, employee salary. Similarly, I mean from our graduation onwards, we are seeing these kind of tables, right? So same. So let's say if you want to put the same table in the SQL database, you need to write some queries. But here, in fact, you are actually by using some script, actually you can push that tables into this particular table services. So you have this creating table option. You can just name the table as table one, and as if you are a developer, then only you can use these services because these are purely developer oriented services. Let's say for SQL databases, if you want to access the data, you need to authenticate that a particular SQL server. Similarly, here also you have this path. If you want to access this, developers directly they will use this table URL in their script, in their code, so that the table will be directly accessed. It's similarly like an API. So that's how they use it. But as of now, as a DB, I'm sorry, as an administration part, 7533 doesn't cover these tables in detail, because only this is purely used by the developers who are into core SQL development part. So those guys only will use the SQL tables. So we'll quickly move on to these queues. So Azure queues. If you see one more service in storage, we have queues. So this is also similarly like development tool. So where what actually they does is, let's say if an application wants to, if let's say if they want to send some communication to an application, they will queue some messages to that application. So queuing system, it's called a queuing system. We have in real time we have that project called what we say, message brokering something, message brokering. So they use this kind of stuff only, queuing system. So if they want to communicate with an application, they will just queue some messages. So the definition, pure definition for this is, uh, yep, Azure queues. Just note it down. Note it down the definition. Azure Queue Storage provides cloud messaging, cloud messaging between application components. Whether the application components are, whether the application components are running in the cloud, comma, on the desktop or on premises, cloud messaging between application components. First point is Azure Queue Storage provides cloud messaging between application components. Okay. The second point is the application components, whether they are running in the cloud, the application components, whether they are running in the cloud, comma, on the desktop, comma, on an on-premises server or an mobile device. So it doesn't matter, which means like this application, wherever you are running your application by using this Azure queuing system. You can queue the messages, whatever. Let's say the application, this application should do this task next time. Okay, when you actually want to send this request to that application, you are actually queuing those messages in this queuing system. So you can actually queue n number of messages in this Azure queue services. you know as you know, Azure Storage is supporting 500 terabytes of storage. You can queue n number of messages. So by queuing those messages, you are actually communicating with your application. So this is also purely used by the .NET developers, or the Python or Java, Angular JS people who are using this desktop application, mobile applications. The developers who are using these kind of applications, they use this queuing system. So this is also is an this queues is also an optional for our 7533. So just write this definition. Just you should be aware of it. So what is a queues? Then you should answer this in a similar way. Azure Queue Storage provides cloud messaging between an application components, which means like whether the application is like a cloud application or it's like web application or a mobile application, it doesn't matter. It supports all kind of applications by using these queues you can actually communicate with your any kind of application. You should answer this way. And as this, you should also tell them that as this is a purely a developer resource, I don't have much experience on it and I have not worked on it. Just simply say this word, because only the developers will get the questions on this particular topic, and the admins, you can actually ignore this completely. So let's quickly, today we are going to see the premium storage. So we are actually done with the four types of services. We are actually seeing the premium storage. So you see, similarly we have how we have created a storage. We are actually creating a same storage with a premium option. So as of now, if you see the standard storage, you have four types of services, as I said: blobs, files, tables, and queues. But in fact, in premium storage, you will only get one and only one service called blobs. No other three services. In earlier versions of premium storage, you do have all these three. But in fact, by after timing, they have actually removed all these remaining three options. Currently, only blobs is available. So where is the difference actually? What's the difference you are gonna get? So the difference is like if you are using a premium storage, you are gonna get a complete performance. Okay. So performance in the sense, let's say you are actually creating a virtual machine by using the premium storage account and by using a standard. So when you say if you are using a premium, you will get a good speed in the virtual machine. The access speed, boot up screen, everything will be like fraction of seconds. But let's say if you are using normal standard storage account, this the VM speed will be like little bit low. So when compared with the premium, because it is costly, premium is costly. There you are actually using SSDs. So let me differentiate this, and I'm going to create a one more storage account with a premium option. So you have a performance tier as the premium. So I'm just selecting that. So if you see, if you select the premium, only the replication method is you are only having LRS, which means like local redundant storage. Within this particular data center only you can store this particular you can store the data. So replicated within the clusters if you are using this replication. Let's say visual path 2. Okay. So this is my premium storage. I'm just selecting all the options as it is. And I can even take the same resource group. Just so I'm just taking the same resource group and I'm just creating it. So before telling you this, I just want to differentiate some options which are in standard and premium. Let me open my MS Paint. So as you guys already know, we'll get four types of services here in premium. So first one is blobs, files, queues, tables. But here, as I said, only one service called blobs. Okay. Here you have three types of replications for this: LRS, GRS, local redundant storage, geo redundant storage, RAGRS, read access geo redundant storage. So these questions you will face in the interview. Okay. Replication types for standard. For only premium, you have only one replication method called LRS, local redundant storage. Within the data center, the data will be replicated between the clusters. Now, the difference where you are actually getting the difference. You here in standard also you have the blobs, in premium also you have the blobs. Let's say when you are storing some data into these blobs, let's say directly we can't store the data inside the blobs, right? So we need to create a folder called containers. So in order to store some data, you need to create some containers. Similarly, in premium also, you need to create a container. So whatever the data you are actually storing inside the container, you can store any kind of data, as I said. So you are actually putting some data. Let's say if you want to access them, you know, if it is a standard storage account, there may be some issues like performance issues or something. But in premium, you can actually access the data very fast. So you don't have any throttlings, you don't have any issues while you are accessing with a premium storage. But the difference only here is you should only remember a point called, let's say you are actually creating a virtual machine. You can only see the difference here. Okay. So let's say you are creating a virtual machine by using standard, the disk type will be like HDD, normal hard disk. As I said, premium is nothing but it supports solid state drives. So let's say if you are creating a VM with a premium storage, your disk format will be like SSD, solid state drive. So you are already familiar with these names. So HDD is like little bit, currently my laptop is also having HDD. So let's say if you are purchasing a new laptop in the market today, so because each and every laptop service providers, they are actually suggesting you to go with SSDs because you'll get a good speed, you'll get a good boot up speed. So that's the reason they're actually suggesting it. So in Azure, as I said, pay as you go basis. How much you use, that much you pay. So let's say if you are taking a premium, you are getting a good benefit, but at the same time you need to pay that billing also. So you are actually responsible to pay that billing. But if you are taking a standard, you know, uh, you'll have a good speed, but not up to the mark like SSD. Okay, there is a small difference. So when you are creating a virtual machine, it doesn't ask you whether you are actually whether you want to go with HDD or go with SSD. Okay, it will ask you whether you want to go with a standard storage or a premium storage. Let's say if you are just selecting a premium, automatically, you know, you are actually going with SSDs. If you are taking a standard, you are going with HDD. Okay, do remember this point. When you say SSD, the billing will be like, let's say if you are creating a virtual machine, the C drive size is, let's say this is Linux operating system. Linux. Now you are actually, the size of the disk will be 30 GB by default when you are creating a virtual machine. In this only 10 GB will be OS files will be stored. Remaining 20 GB is free. But in HDD, in standard storage account, if you are storing this disk in your container, you know, there will be no charge for this empty space. The 20 GB, there will be no charge. But in SSD, the disk, entire disk, let's say you are only using 10 GB in Linux, okay, for this 30 GB you will be charged, because as that is a solid state drive, Microsoft will charge you for the entire disk. That's the reason you are not actually, companies, each and every company who are using these SSDs, so they will only use up to the mark. Let's say if they want only 10 GB, they will create a disk with only 10 GB. If they want, it's an optional thing. When you are creating a virtual machine, you do have an option how much size you want to go with. So you can select that option and you can actually do that. So if you want to extend this disk at any point of time, you can extend it. Okay, let's say if your disk is completely filling up, let's say it reaches 29 GB, and if you want to upgrade the size, yes, you can do that in this premium storage and also in standard also. But this is completely a virtual machine related concept we are going to discuss in detail, and I'll also show you the lab part. But this is just for your information. Okay, this topic. But the difference in the premium and standard, you can actually see in only when you are creating a virtual machines. Okay, what is the benefit of creating a premium storage? Even though it is costly, but you are going to get a good speed when you are accessing the data, when you are uploading the data, when you are downloading the data. You'll get a good performance when you are using this premium storage. Okay, that's a major difference. Now we'll go back to the premium storage and we'll see that. So Visual Path 2 is my premium storage. And where can you see whether this is the premium storage or standard storage? If you go to the overview blade, you can see the performance section here. If you see the performance, where if it shows premium, then it is a premium storage. If you go to the other storage account, and if you go to the overview, it shows as a standard, which means like that is a standard. This is only the place where you can differentiate these storage accounts. Okay, so this is the standard. I'm going back to the premiums. So if you see here, you don't have options for services. Only you have only one blobs. Okay. Similarly, in standard storage, how you are actually creating a container. Here also you should create a container. Otherwise, it will not allow you to dump data into this particular storage. Let's say I'm going to create a container called. So if you see this, you have all these options are public access levels. Access policies are disabled. Private, blob, container are the standard access policies. But in premium, no access policy. Only one access policy called private, which means like you can only see this data. So I'm just saying okay. Now my container got created, and similarly that's the same process. You can even access this premium storage account by using Storage Explorer tool also. Similarly, I have showed you for the standard storage. So you can upload the data by using the portal. As I said, portal, you have a limited upload. You can't upload more than 140 MB or something. So if you want to upload more data, if you need to use the tool called Storage Explorer or a PowerShell. So PowerShell, we are gonna see it soon. Okay. So this is a premium storage, and that this is the basic difference between a standard and premium as of now. So monitoring part and all the other options are, as you are actually seeing it, are similar. The access keys for this particular storage account are similar. Key 1, key 2, and connection strings. Connection strings we will see when you are discussing about SQL databases. So key 1 and key 2 are used to access the storage account by using Storage Explorer or by using SAS tokens. For premium storage also we have the shared access signature tokens. Okay. So you know how to create these SAS tokens just by just selecting the date and time and selecting some permissions here. You can just click on generate the SAS token. Automatically a key will be generated, which you will share with your colleague. Okay. And also you are actually familiar with the soft delete option. Let's say if you want to delete, and if you want to put your data to be, if you want your data to be stored in the data center for few more days, you can go with the soft delete option. So, and you have already seen this locks. If you lock this resource, if you just click on a lock, let's say I just say add a lock. Okay, I'm gonna say lock name as, I think I have showed you this. Let me show you once again. Okay, say lock storage, lock type. So read only and delete. You have two types of lock types. So if I say read only, only anyone, only anyone can only can read the data inside this particular resource. Even the owner. Let's say I am the owner of this, and I have one more owner for the subscription. If you want to delete this particular storage account, he can't delete it until unless he delete the lock. Okay. Currently, I said only read only, which means like even he don't have the permissions to delete this lock and delete the storage account. So I'm just saying okay. Okay. If I want to delete the storage, okay, now it will not allow me to delete because there is a lock. So it will say the error as, okay, hey, there is a lock for the storage account, you can't delete it. Seems like there is some important data. Some of the owner has put some lock to this resource. So you need to delete the lock first, then only you can able to delete the storage account. See, it is failing. It says like the scope, failure to delete a storage account, error, the scope. This is the subscription details. You cannot perform delete operation because the following scope are locked, which means like there is a lock for it. If you see this kind of lock option, directly you just come to the overview blade and just check, try to delete the lock. Just check with your management whether I can delete the lock or not. And if you have permissions to delete it, just go ahead and delete it. And then only you can able to delete the storage account. That's a kind of lock feature. Now I can directly delete the storage account by clicking on delete button. So alerts and metrics we have seen in our previous class. So similarly, you just this is how you create your premium storage account and a standard storage account. This is a simple example. And today quickly we are actually seeing one of the important topic called apps. So few people are familiar in creating the websites. So few people, let's say we'll talk about general discussion. So if you want to create a website, how you actually do it? So by taking a server or by going to the GoDaddy site. So what is the process you follow? Anyone familiar with websites here? Web designing. Right. That is actually the traditional process. So let me explain you before going into the apps. So guys, do remember, currently we have discussed about storage and resource groups. Storage is completely like infrastructure as a service. Okay. So where, whenever you face any difficulties or whenever you face accessing the files or, whenever you facing the accessing the data, you should troubleshoot that or you should check with the support team. But apps is purely a Microsoft, Microsoft managed service, which means like you don't have any option to do that. Microsoft only manage the complete infrastructure. So before proceeding further, let me explain you the apps and how it is being managed. Okay, I'm just removing this. So apps is nothing but don't think like apps is nothing but something like it may be like mobile app. Mobile app means Android app. Desktop app in the sense like your Windows applications. Like currently I have Google Chrome, currently I have some internet browser, I have MS Paint, these kind of applications. Like it may be any desktop application, or it may be a web application like websites, okay, web apps, okay, and what we have, mobile, desktop, and web. Okay, that's it. So these are the apps that we have in our real time. So in order to create a website, I mean, nowadays still people are using a traditional way. Traditional way in the sense old method. Old method in the sense what you are actually doing here is you are actually creating one server, and inside this server, so let's say if it is Windows, okay, it is Windows. We'll also take a Linux operating system as example. Okay, this is Windows machine. If you want to create one website on your own, what you will do? Currently, the name you should register from the online sites like GoDaddy. Okay, let's say I'm going to take a name called Visual Path, visualpath.com. Okay, I need to register this name first. I have just confirmed with my management. Okay, they want to go with this name. I'll go to the GoDaddy and I'll check whether this name is available or not. Once the name is available, I'll just pay for this name and I'll purchase this domain. Okay, I'll get the rights to use this domain now. Fine. Where I should host this site? Now, developers, they will prepare some code. Let's say developers in your office, they have some two machines and they are writing some code, and they are ready with their code. So code is ready. This is the code. Okay, now they need some infrastructure in order to host this website. Host in the sense like in order to they need to use some infrastructure that should be populate with other one. Let's say when you search visualpath.com, there should be some content it should show you. Let's say whenever I'm typing visual path in internet, you are getting one website and the designs where you are actually storing. You are storing that in a server. So similarly, right now this is my Windows server. So I want to use this as a web server. So the code is ready. In order to use this code, you need some feature called IIS, Internet Information Services. So by using this feature, we will also see this in real time, how to do that. By using this feature, once you enable the feature in Windows Server, automatically your normal server becomes as a web server. Okay. So now you put this code in your C drive. Okay, in your C drive. Let's say there is an IP address for this machine. The IP address has 192.168.20.129. Okay, or this is IP address, or you have a DNS name. You can say that name as, you can even use this custom domain as a visualpath.com. You should configure this all stuff, visualpath.com. So whenever you put the code inside this, when you type just visualpath.com in your Google Chrome browser, the request, let me use one more paint. Okay, now this is your laptop. Okay, you just type, you are actually typing on your keyboard. Okay, the request you're just typing as visualpath.com, and the request is coming to your router, which is in your home. So there is a router. Okay, this is a router and it is coming here, and here it is connected to the ISP, internet service provider. Let's say internet is being provided by Airtel. Okay, here the DNS resolution happens whether you are typing the IP address or if you are typing the DNS name, which means like visual path or IP address. If you click on hit enter on the Google Chrome, the request sends to the router, and then router just sends that request to the ISP provider, internet service provider. Here you will have some DNS server. Okay, DNS server where it will check whether whether this name is available or not. Let's say you are just searching for vp.com, and it will just resolve that to the IP address. Okay, IP address is there and this site is there. Now it will route you to this particular site. Okay, or it grabs the data, whatever. Let's say now it connects, this request will come to this particular machine. The server is nothing but this is the machine. Currently we have this machine, right? IIS machine. The request comes to this particular machine, and whatever the data, whatever the code that we put inside the C drive, that will be reflected back. That will be reflected back to this particular ISP provider, and then similarly the request comes back to your local machine, and then you could able to see the page in your Google Chrome browser. This all happens in fraction of seconds. Okay, this is completely, web development. So you are actually seeing this part in our admin part because we are going to support these apps in real time. Why I am telling you this traditional network scenario is in currently, as we have technology is improved, and nowadays, it's really hard to manage all this infrastructure. Let's say you need to purchase your domain. What are the tasks you are doing? I'm just telling you. You need to purchase the domain. You need to create the server. You need to take care of the maintenance, like Windows updates, patching. You need to take care of all the maintenance part, and also you need to write your own code. And what you're actually doing, you need to the hardware cost and AC charges, everything you need to maintain. Instead of doing all the stuff, Microsoft is actually giving you the option called web apps. Web apps is like, backend infrastructure is being completely managed by Azure. You just create your app service, and you just create your app service and simply you just, you know you can just put your data inside that particular thing. Okay. So let me go back to this and let me show you that. So here also, if you are using the apps, okay, if you are using the apps, you are having the server in backend, but you are not managing that. Microsoft is managing that server for you in backend. We are calling the server and its configuration as app service plan. App, this app service plan. We are calling this as app service plan. Here you can, by selecting this plan, you are actually selecting the configuration of this server. So whenever you are creating an app and app service plan, your app will be ready within 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Your server will be up and online. I'll show you that quickly in today's session. I'll show you that how to create a web app, sample web app, okay, without any server creation. Simple, it is really simple, guys. Just go to your create resource option here and search for web app. You can search for web app, mobile app, or desktop application, anything. So you'll get these kind of apps option. So currently I have a web app, okay. Now I'm just selecting that. So I'm just going to create this. Whenever I'm just going to create, it is asking you the domain name, DNS name. Currently, similarly like storage account. So for storage account, how they have given core.windows.net, here also they are going to give you Azure Websites.net. Let's say if you want to use .com on your own, visualpath.com, then you need to purchase that domain. So if you want to purchase, I'll show you how to do that. I have my own custom domain. I'll show you how to do entire all the steps. Just today is just overview of our web apps, and tomorrow onwards we'll go detail and we'll see how to create the DNSs and how to create these domain names. Everything will show in detail. So I'm going to take Visual Path as the name. Most probably this is not available, so because it is being used, let's say I'm going to say Visual Path 1. Okay, Visual Path 1 dot Azure Websites.net is my website name. Okay, if you don't want to use this, all this stuff, we can configure this by using custom domains. Okay, we'll see this in detail. Currently I'm just taking Visual Path 1 dot Azure Websites.net is as a domain name, and I'm going to take a resource group as Visual Path 1, or I can use my existing new RG in my resource group. Okay, I'm going to take this. Now, operating systems. So if you see here, so backend infrastructure, everything is being managed by Microsoft. You are just selecting an option. Linux is for free of cost. Windows operating system, you need to pay for the license. So as you are getting good security in Linux, most people will go for Linux, or if they are interested, they can go with Windows. A new feature added just like a week back is called Dockers. Dockers is one of the storage technology Microsoft is offering. So you can even use this Dockers. We will talk in detail about all these three. Okay, let's quickly go with it, as this is a simple demo session. So I'm just going to go with Windows. Now, as I said, app service plan. App service plan completely represents this server and its configuration. So I'm just going selecting this app service plan. So currently a sample plan was taken, but I just want to create a new one. Okay, I say ASP represents app service plan, and this is getting deployed in central US. No, I just want to do it in East US. Okay, the pricing tier, here you have the options. So entire server configurations will be here. So if it is your production scenario, you go with S1. S1 completely have one core, which means like one CPU, you will get one CPU and 1.75 GB of RAM you are going to get for that machine. And A series compute, in the sense like you will get a good compute speed. and the cost of this particular plan is like 4,917 rupees per month estimated. If you are using this app 24 bar 7 and if you are sending some traffic and data, your estimated cost will be like 4,900 rupees. Let's say if you are only want to test it, okay, you have some other free plans also. Just you can go with 1 GB memory, 60 minutes per day compute, and free of cost. So you can go with these kind of stuff, but the view completely changed. Otherwise, you could have seen different way. Okay, let's go to production. But we have a lot of options in standard. By default, everyone goes with a standard S1. Or if you want to test it, you can go with the free options. I'm just going with standard, where my current system will have this current system will have one CPU, 1.75 GB RAM, and currently I get some storage of A series storage. If you want to see that, just go with Azure App Service Plan, standard one, medium. You just type it, you will get the pricing tiers. No, on this site. Okay. So this is the app service plan link where you will have the sizes here. Uh, free. Free in the sense apps 10, which is like, you can host up to 10 apps. 10 apps in the sense I'll tell you, because we have a concept called slots in that. Uh, so I think in detail, these are the depth concepts I'll tell you when I'm telling you the next concepts of this, as this is a demo. Okay, just only for your information. Okay, S1 I'm just taking as S1. Okay, I'll just apply this. Just I have selected the configuration for my Windows server. I'm just taking the operating system Windows, and this is the configuration for it. And application insights is a tool where it is a monitoring kind of tool. It provides good insights, like, whatever the, let's say if you are doing some changes in your app, or let's say how much time the request is taking, everything it is captured by this particular application insight. You will see this application insight as of now. Okay, I'm just creating it. So the one and only one benefit that you get by using these apps is, with zero downtime, you can actually upgrade your apps. So that is a wonderful feature. So what is you'll get an interview question like this when you are actually sitting in your interview panel. The question will be like, mm, what is the feature without zero downtime? What Without zero downtime, how can you upgrade the apps? Okay, let's say you are actually using your Android app application. Current version is 1.0, and sometimes you use your WhatsApp and it will ask you update. Okay, so you just simply click on update. So your app is updating. Until that time, let's say some other user is actually trying to install that application. Okay, if he wants to install that, he need to download that application and he need to install it. But no downtime is required in order to do that. In olden days, how the process happens here is, just let me go back. See, zero downtime in the sense, no need to down the server. Let's take the normal traditional way. Let's say I have the app in this. Okay, people who are connecting to this app, let's say you just type google.com, people connect to this particular server and they'll access the data inside this server. But if you want to upgrade this, okay, you want to change the code inside this particular server, you need to stop this machine, and then you, whatever the changes you want to do, you need to do it in traditional way. But nowadays, as we are using apps, web apps, we can also call these as app service plans, app services, sorry, app services. By using this Azure app services without downtime, no need to take down the server, you can directly upload the code or you can directly do some changes to your code, but your app will be up and online even during that time. So that is the benefit. So without zero downtime, you can actually upgrade the app or you can do some changes to your code. That's the benefit actually. So I'm just going to create some sample app. Seems like the app is deployed. Okay, deployment got succeeded. Going back to app services. So I have the visual path 1. I'm just selecting that. So you have a browse option here, and You have the Visual Path 1.azurewebsites.net is my website, current website. Let's say I'm going to browse it. See, the app service is up and running. If you want to put some data, this is the website URL. Even you can browse that from your mobile phone also. Even you can, let's say if you type this visualpath.azurewebsites.net, the site will be accessible from your mobile phone also. If you want to put your own code, let's say this is currently a default page of Microsoft. Let's say if you want to change the website page, then you need to access some configurations and you need to do it. In tomorrow's session, I will clearly explain you how to do that and how to create this by using PowerShell as well as the apps. So apps concept is really important for you in real time because you are going to support these app service plans right now. So in today's market, I mean, a lot of companies are asking you guys who are actually working on PaaS services. These web apps purely comes under PaaS service. You need to know how to troubleshoot these app service plans. Let's say whenever the developer wrote the code and they have just uploaded it into the site, whenever they are actually searching for the site, the, the site is not getting up. Then that is your responsibility. You need to fix this issue. How can you fix it? In tomorrow's session, we'll see that. Okay. So this is what all about apps for today, and tomorrow we'll see in detail concepts of apps and how to take a backup of it, how to monitor this, and how to see small changes. Let's say some developer has done some changes to this app, and how can I trace that particular log? So we will also see that by using this application insights. Okay, we'll see a couple of options in tomorrow's session. This is a basic overview how to create the apps. Okay, if you have any doubts related to the today's topic, just let you can ask me. I'm going to mute online guys. Just be on mute for a couple of seconds. I'll be back. Hi George, hi Manish. So if you have any doubts related to storage account, so because we are actually quickly moving back to the app, so if you don't have any doubts, you can. If you have a doubt, you can ask me.
No, Shiva, right now. No
Oh,
doubts.
cool, cool, cool.
And
Okay.
you said that power.
Sorry.
Yeah, you said something like regarding the PowerShell creating the blobs.
Right. Okay, you want that script to
Yes.
create a blob?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. I'll just provide you in tomorrow's session, okay? Because as we are done with the
Okay.
session today, tomorrow I'll show you how to do that. It's a single line. So yesterday in our previous class we have seen how to create a storage account, right? Just